Alright, this isn't the video I'd intended to make today. I wanted to make a video today talking to you about how much fun I was having playing my Sharp Twin Famicom and playing all of my awesome import games that I've been picking up over the last couple months. And that is not the video I'm making today. What's going on, everyone? I'm Jay. My channel is Square Pegs, and today instead we are talking about the pitfalls and perils of purchasing retro equipment. That's right, I was gonna sit down and talk to you about how excited I was to be playing on this guy right here, my Sharp Twin Famicom. And when I first got this back in November, actually let me hold on for a second. I've got to rewind a little bit. And if you are interested in this story and future videos from me, please be sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already done so. Ring the notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. But I need to go back to tell you about something that happened at the Midwest Gaming Classic. I was walking around with Gary from Rock Solid Productions and Chris from Game Dad Show, and I was telling them how interested I was in the Famicom and the Famicom disk system. And they suggested to me to pick up a Sharp Twin Famicom because it gets the best of both worlds. It's a Famicom and a disk system built in together. It's more reliable. And yeah, I was convinced. I was down for it, and I was able to pick one up in November. And when it arrived in November, it played great. I didn't have any issues with it. I was having a lot of fun with it, and unfortunately, it just didn't line up schedule-wise for when I was going to be able to get this thing made. So rather than just kind of force feed something that I just wasn't feeling at the time, I wanted to give it time to breathe a little bit, and it was going to be right at the start of December that I made this video, and then my 9 to 5 blew up, and things kind of got crazy in my real life, and yeah, it waited until today. And then yeah, so when I decided to make this video and get the footage recorded last night, I turned on my Famicom, and there were some issues. The audio isn't correct. I'll put up some footage here of Rockman 5 so you can actually hear the popping and the crackling as I'm playing. That's a frustration point, right? Because when I first played it, it sounded great, everything sounded fine, there wasn't an issue at all. But right now, every single game that I have is making this sound and just sounds terrible, and it kind of sucks, right? Like, I think as a modern gamer, we get spoiled that when we plug a game in or we plug a console in, it's just gonna work. We're gonna have 7.1 3D audio everywhere when we're wearing our headsets or anything like that, and that's just not the case with older consoles. You have to deal with potential hardware failure. I was talking to some friends and they said it's potentially a capacitor issue, or maybe there's corrosion on the ports or something like that, and it's just one of those things where I look at it, I go, man, it's just one thing after another. It just doesn't sound right, and it made it really unpleasant to play, but I was determined to get footage done because I said, you know what, at the very least, I can just drop the audio altogether and I'll put some generic music over it so I can show you the games that I'm playing and tell you what I think about each one and show you how I'm starting my Famicom collection. But specifically, I was excited because I was like, you know what, even with the audio issues, I want to show off the Famicom disk system game I've got here. This is a Kinnikuman game. This is from if you're from the States, it's Muscle, and I love Muscle. It was one of my favorite toys as a kid, and I was really excited to play this one because, I mean, the one we got for the NES kind of sucked, and this is a side-scrolling different game. And I pop it in, and nothing. Doesn't access the disc, doesn't make a noise, nothing happens whatsoever. It's just dead. And that sucked, because it was something I was really looking forward to, and something I was really excited to try out and show off, and talk to you guys about as a retro collector, and just be like, look, this is how it's starting, this is how it's going to go for me. But instead of that, we're going to talk about the perils of retro collecting and some of the things that I've run into and I've experienced at a couple of conventions I've been to, as well as picking up this piece of hardware. Now, in my neck of the woods, retro hardware is hard to come by. There's not a lot of it. I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We only really have 2 used game stores around me, Treasure Quest and Second Chance, and neither one of them really cater to used systems. Games, yes. Systems, not so much. They have some, but not a ton that I would say are really notable or exceptional. Like the generational gap typically starts around the N64, but more usually the generational gap of where they actually start having hardware is kind of around the N64, PS1, but typically it's with that PS2, GameCube, Xbox era. That's where most things are in this region. I mean, and that's okay because those are great consoles and there's tons of great games for them, and that's a wonderful place to collect. But I mean, when I'm looking for stuff that's back from the 80s or the early 90s, it's a little bit more difficult to find hardware in that regard. So I'm left to dealing with the flotsam and jetsam of eBay, or for independent sellers on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. And eBay is where I've had the most success finding Famicom stuff. Now, the console itself was affordable. It wasn't too expensive. It wasn't something where I looked at it and I said, well, you know, that's really cheap. There's going to be some issues there. It was right in line with what I was seeing for other Sharp Twin Famicoms, and it's fine because, I mean, it worked when it was sent to me, so I know when they actually tested it, it did function. I think it's just a case of, we're looking at a 35-year-old console at this point, and I know when I was 35, things stopped working completely correctly in my body, so I can only imagine what it's like for things that are designed for obsolescence. So, in this regard, with the disk system not working, talking to Gary from Rock Solid, it's an issue with the belt drive, and he's going to be sending me a new one so I can get that replaced, and that'll be up and running eventually. But I'm left with the issue of the audio still, and I don't know how to replace capacitors or anything like that. So it's something where it's going to be watching a lot of videos and trying to teach myself how to do that, or just finding someone that can fix it for me. And I think with, and what was I saying? Now, the reason I'm telling you all that, and the reason of what I'm doing here, is just to kind of express to you the situation that's going on. So for me, like I said, everything I have to do collecting-wise has to be done online, because I just don't have a local option here. There's no place for me to go, really, to collect retro hardware. Software, yes, to a degree. However, import software is a hard pass in the region. There's nothing around me. There isn't a single store around me that sells anything imported. And that really sucks, because when you want to buy imported stuff, like I would love to collect more imported N64 stuff or imported Super Nintendo or Famicom, like I've been doing. I would love to be able to do that locally and, you know, keep my money in my community, but that's just not the case. So I'm left with eBay. Independent sellers that have their own stores online are a great option, and that's a small business that you're supporting, and that's a wonderful thing. But I would love to be able to do this locally and not be buying blind, you know, like, because at the end of the day, when you order something online or you order something on eBay, you are up to the reliability of what the person is saying. And if they're full of crap, or if they're not as picky about the product as you are, then you run into issues. And I think that's one of the major problems we have right now with collecting for retro hardware and retro software, is that there's been such a push lately with the pandemic for people to kind of recapture that childhood. They've been stuck inside. They want to be able to do the things that bring them comfort. And I think that's, you know, that's just human nature. You want to do things that make you happy and that make you comfortable. And a lot of people are reaching back to the childhood and buying things like old NESs or Super Nintendos or even the Dreamcast and things like that. So we're seeing prices skyrocket for kind of that generation backwards. Like the PS3 and Xbox 360 is still fairly affordable, but anything from the GameCube generation back, prices are just going up. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, that means that we're left trying to determine if something is a good buy just by looking at a picture online, because, or at least in my situation, I don't have the ability to look at it and say, yes, that looks fantastic, my good man, I will purchase this from the back of your trunk, or I'll purchase this from your store. That's just not a thing we do here in Kalamazoo. So instead, we're left to buying online, and that's kind of scary, right? Like, I mean, eBay offers some protections, and PayPal offers some protections that where you purchase something, if it's not what was advertised, you're able to get your money back, and that's great. But even still, like, this is, like, the failure on the Famicom, that's not what the seller did. The seller sent me something that worked. As far as they were able to tell, everything was fine. It worked when I received it. It's just, it has since degraded. And I think that sucks. But I don't want to tell you, you know, it sounds like I'm saying don't collect retro, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to dissuade you guys from collecting for retro things. I just want you to go in with open eyes and a knowledge of what you're doing, to understand that there's risk involved, and there's inherent risk in anything like this, especially with collectibles, that you're going to be purchasing something and you're going to be spending a considerable sum of money on something. And the chances that either the market will bottom out on you or it just won't work. And you have to go in knowing that, and you have to be prepared that everything you purchase is a gamble. And that can be exhilarating, because you can find stuff where you're going to be either purchasing a lot of items and you're going to find that holy grail that you've been looking for ages, or you're going to get lucky like I did with my N64 at the start of the year and find a place online from a reputable source that your friends shop at that is willing to ship you something, and you're going to get it and it's going to work immaculately and perfectly, which is what my Jungle Green N64 does. And then you get something like this Sharp Twin Famicom where I purchased it and it worked, but within a month, it's degraded and it needs work done. And you know, for me, that's opportunity, right? Like for the average consumer, that's going to piss them off and that's going to be a really, really crap situation to deal with. But for me, like I said, it's opportunity, right? I am going to be able to open this up. I'm going to be able to make a video series out of it on repairing and, you know, getting your Sharp Twin Famicom up to speed to make sure it's going to work the way you want it to. I'm going to be able to show off these amazing games that I purchased. But if I was just a person that was collecting and I wasn't a YouTuber and I wasn't making stuff for you guys to view and for you guys to be entertained by, man, I'd be completely disheartened. And truth be told, I kind of was yesterday. So yeah, well, this wasn't the video I was going to do for you guys. It is nice having friends to bounce ideas off of. And I want to thank John Hancock for kind of turning me a little bit away from being so negative about things towards, you know, maybe seeing the bright side of this and actually being able to turn this from a video that I wanted to do into a video that I needed to do. I don't really know where this one's going. This is just kind of me rambling a bit and talking about the perils and the pleasures, I guess, of collecting for retro. Because I mean, like, for my regard, like, one of the things that kind of spurred this on was getting this was something I was excited about. I've wanted a Famicom since I was a kid. Like, this is something where it was kind of like, you know, just this mythical piece of hardware that I didn't think I was ever going to be able to own, but now I have one and I'm able to collect for it and play all these incredible games that I've never played personally before. And yeah, you can do that through emulation, but I mean, emulation isn't going to give me a Rockman 5 cartridge in teal, or a silver chrome Star Wars cartridge, or a Lupin cartridge. I can't get that through emulation. Yeah, I can get pictures of it and that's fine, but like, physical media is something that's incredibly appealing to me, and it's also given me a chance to do some things creatively. Like, I have these Famicom stands for some of my games that I can put them on, and I actually display them. Discart, this one is for you, buddy. And it's nice to be able to look at it and say, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to have these physical games and I want to be able to purchase them, but there is that risk involved. So I think that's kind of what the conversation is here, is I don't want you guys to be dissuaded from buying retro. I just want you to go in with open eyes. It's a seller's market right now. The purchase prices are going up. You need to understand that the games that are holy grails, that are considered expensive games, are always going to be expensive games, and they're going to be ones that you're going to be paying through the nose for. And just understand that with that, there is some risk involved. Now, if you watch John Riggs videos, you know that sometimes you might have to resolder boards, like with his open cart surgery stuff. At the very least, you're going to need cleaning supplies to make sure that your boards are clean, so that when you put them into your machine, you're not just causing corrosion and causing gunk to build up on the pins. You want to be sure you're able to do this stuff. And I think there's measures that we're able to take to make sure that we are building a good collection, that we are building a quality community around collecting retro, and that we're not just buying for the sake of buying. Like, if you are collecting, collect the things you love. Collect the things that you know you're going to want to play, and go in with open eyes as well. Don't get blinded to that. Like, collect what you love is great until you realize that you're buying RPGs and you don't speak Japanese or read Japanese. This guy. It makes sure that you're able to actually play and enjoy the things you have. I love the fact that I have 3 Dragon Quest games for the Famicom, but I don't know what the hell they say. I do love that my Final Fantasy has been modded to be translated into English. Thank you, Thor. But don't go excitedly buying things. Like, it's, you know, proceed with open eyes, do your research before you buy anything, and make sure that you understand the risks that go along with it, and make sure the risks are worth it to you, because if they're not worth it to you, then emulation's the way to go. But if it's something where you are comfortable taking the risks on these physical products, and you're comfortable taking the risks inherent with collecting anything that the market could bottom out on and just completely lose value, then go forward, man. Buy the things you love, do the things that you want, get the things in your collection that you're going to love to have and love to play, because man, there's nothing better than being able to pop in an old game and just, you know, be transported away to your childhood. It's fantastic. All right, that's going to do it for today, guys. This is, you know, a 15-20 minute video of me just rambling about, you know, kind of the perils of retro collecting and why it's also kind of a benefit, because I think there's something to be said there. It's a scary place to be, but it's also a wonderful place to be. And the community around retro collecting, if you find the right people, is magnificent. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any ideas on how to fix the audio issue I'm having. You guys heard it. I hope there is something there that you guys know what to do with, because I'm completely at a loss. And if you know of anyone that can instruct me via YouTube videos on how to replace capacitors or replace the connecting ports if they're corroded or anything like that, please let me know, because I would love to learn how. Let me know in the comments down below if there are any games in particular you think I should be looking out for both the Famicom and the Famicom Disk System that you think are just gems that never made it to the States or that I should check out. I would love to know what your suggestions are. Please hit like, please subscribe down below if you're new around here. You haven't already done so. If you just stumble across the channel, please stick around for a while, check things out. I'm going to be hitting 1,300 subscribers soon, and we'll be doing a giveaway for Halo Infinite, a Master Chief Stubbins, and the Halo dog tags that were GameStop exclusive. Let's look for that later this week, because I'm pretty sure that'll be probably a bit of a Christmas miracle, if you know what I'm saying. We're going to hit that. And hey, if you really dig the work I do around here, you've been here for a while and you want to support the channel, consider becoming a monthly Patreon sponsor like the folks you're seeing on screen right now. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate them, because without them, I actually wouldn't have any of this Famicom stuff to begin with. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay, reminding you to please collect with open eyes, know what you're getting into, but make sure that you are buying the things that you love and that you are going to treasure and value to have in your collection. Until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.